In a small village on the outskirts of Manila, the morning sun used to rise to the rhythmic sound of hammering wood and the gentle hum of an old radio playing love songs from the 80s. That was the life of Mario Santos, a humble Filipino carpenter known for his warm smile and steady hands. He built tables, doors, and dreams for families who couldn't afford much, but every piece he made carried his pride. His workshop smelled of sawdust and hope, and his laughter often filled the air. Mario's wife, Teresa, would bring him coffee, and his daughter, Liza, would sit nearby, watching her father turn rough planks into something beautiful. But one rainy afternoon changed everything. While working on the roof of a two-story home, a loose board gave way beneath his feet. The fall was quick, the impact cruel. When Mario woke up in the hospital, the doctor's words shattered his world. "You may never walk again," the man said quietly. In that single moment, the carpenter who once stood tall for others could no longer stand for himself. The days that followed were filled with silence. His tools gathered dust. His workshop closed. The once vibrant sound of hammering was replaced by the cold hum of a wheelchair. Mario refused to see anyone. He couldn't bear the pitying looks, the quiet whispers of neighbors saying, "Such a good man, what bad luck." He began to drift into despair, wondering if his life had lost its purpose. But one Christmas Eve, his daughter Liza placed a small gift on his lap, a worn-out guitar she had saved up for months to buy. "Papa," she said softly, "maybe you can build music instead." Mario's fingers trembled as he held the instrument. The wood was light, smooth, and warm, reminding him of the material he once worked with every day. At first, he could barely press the strings, his hands stiff and weak. But night after night, he practiced. He learned slowly, strumming gently, letting the music carry his pain away. Soon, melodies began to replace his silence. He wrote songs about rain and recovery, about hands that still create even when life tries to break them. Months later, Liza stumbled across a video online of a singer getting the golden buzzer on America's Got Talent. Her eyes widened with an idea. "Papa, you should audition," she said excitedly. Mario laughed. "Me? I'm just a broken carpenter." But Liza wouldn't let the dream die. Together, they recorded a short video of him singing his original song, Wood and Soul, under a flickering bulb in their tiny living room. His voice carried the ache of years but also the hope of a man who refused to give up. They sent the video and forgot about it. Then one humid morning, a message arrived. It was from America's Got Talent. "Congratulations. You were invited to audition in Los Angeles." Mario stared at the screen in disbelief. His hands shook as tears filled his eyes. "Liza, they want me." For the first time in years, he felt alive again. His heart raced not with fear, but with purpose. When they arrived in Los Angeles, everything felt unreal. The city was loud, bright, and full of possibility. Backstage at AGT, Mario watched other contestants, dancers, magicians, singers, each chasing their dreams. He felt small in his wheelchair, wondering if anyone would care about an old carpenter from a faraway land. But when his name was called, he took a deep breath, clutched his guitar, and rolled onto the stage. The lights were blinding. The audience was silent. Simon Cowell looked curious. "What's your name?" he asked. "Mario Santos," he replied softly. "I'm from the Philippines." Simon leaned forward. "What do you do, Mario?" He smiled. "I was a carpenter. Now I try to build hope." The first chords of Wood and Soul echoed through the theater. His voice trembled but grew stronger with every note. The lyrics spoke of broken wood, broken bodies, and unbroken spirits. As he sang, the crowd grew still, mesmerized. By the time he reached the final chorus, his voice cracked with emotion. When the song ended, the room was silent for a moment, then erupted into applause. Sofia Vergara had tears in her eyes. Howie Mandel whispered, "That was real." And then Simon Cowell, visibly moved, pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained from above, showering Mario and his daughter. She ran onto the stage, hugging him tightly as the crowd roared. Simon walked up, knelt beside Mario, and said, "You're a builder, Mario. And tonight, you built something unforgettable." For the first time since his accident, Mario felt like he was standing again, not on his legs, but on his dreams. The next morning after his golden buzzer moment, Mario woke up in his hotel room still feeling the golden confetti in his hair and the echoes of applause in his heart. It was something he never imagined he would experience in his lifetime. His phone buzzed endlessly with messages from friends, strangers, and even fellow carpenters from back home in the Philippines. Videos of his performance had gone viral overnight, filling social media feeds with captions like, "The Carpenter Who Built Hope," and "Simon Cowell's Tearful Golden Buzzer Moment." News outlets called him the voice of resilience. Mario couldn't stop smiling, even as tears often welled up in his eyes. For years, he thought the world had forgotten about people like him, simple, hardworking men whose stories ended in tragedy. But now, his story had become a light for thousands who had once given up. In the days leading to the semi-finals, the AGT producers wanted to showcase Mario's roots. They filmed a short documentary about his life, his little workshop back home, his neighbors helping him rebuild after the accident, his daughter pushing him through narrow dirt roads to the church where he first sang. Watching the footage on a monitor backstage made Mario emotional. He told the camera, "My body may be weak, but my spirit still builds." When he rolled onto the stage that night for the semifinal performance, the set behind him had been transformed into a wooden workshop, a tribute to his craft. Hanging tools, an unfinished table, and gentle lighting gave it a soulful warmth. He started singing his new original song, "Hands of Hope." His voice carried a gentle tremor that drew everyone in, telling the story of how strength is not in what we hold but in what we give. Midway through, the screens behind him displayed clips of his recovery, the day he first held a guitar, the smile on his daughter's face, the laughter he had thought he lost. People in the audience wiped their tears. Even Simon, who rarely showed emotion, stared silently, his eyes glistening. When the last note faded, the entire theater rose to their feet again. Heidi Klum said, "You're not just performing, you're healing people." Simon leaned toward the mic, saying softly, "Mario, your hands built more than wood tonight. You built faith in every person watching." Mario could only nod, unable to speak as the crowd cheered him on. He didn't care about the votes anymore, he had already won something far greater, meaning. As the finals approached, Mario faced new struggles. His back pain worsened from long rehearsals, and doctors advised him to limit his movement. Liza was worried. "Papa, maybe we can rest for a while," she pleaded. But Mario shook his head gently. "I've come too far to stop now, Anik. This isn't just my dream, it's for everyone who ever thought their story was over." The night before the grand finale, he stayed up late, strumming his guitar in silence. He whispered a short prayer, thanking God for every hand that had lifted him along the way. Finals night was electric. The stage glowed with golden light as Mario rolled out, wearing a simple white shirt and a pendant his wife once gave him. The crowd erupted the moment they saw him. His final song, "The House That Love Built," began with a soft acoustic intro. His voice, though tired, was filled with peace. Every lyric painted a picture of a home built not from nails and wood, but from love, loss, and faith. Halfway through the song, the lights dimmed, and Liza appeared beside him, singing the harmony. Her voice cracked with emotion as tears streamed down her face. Together, they sang like two souls who had walked through fire and come out shining. When the final note hung in the air, the entire arena was silent, then erupted into applause so powerful it echoed off the walls. Simon Cowell stood, visibly emotional. "I've seen thousands of acts in my life," he said, his voice shaking, "but this one will stay with me forever. You're not a singer, Mario, you're a builder of hope." Mario smiled softly, looking toward his daughter. "We built this together," he whispered. Whether he won or not didn't matter anymore. That night, he had already built something no one could ever tear down, the house of love that stood tall inside every person who heard his song. When the results were announced, Mario didn't win first place. There was a moment of stillness backstage as the confetti settled and other contestants celebrated their victories. For a brief second, a shadow of disappointment crossed his face, but it disappeared quickly. He realized he hadn't lost at all. Millions of people around the world had witnessed his story, felt his pain, and celebrated his courage. Other contestants, many of whom had incredible talents, came up to hug him. "Brother Mario," one young singer said, tears in her eyes, "you are the real winner here." Mario smiled, feeling a warmth that no trophy could provide. Reporters crowded around, asking about his journey, the accident, and how he found the strength to perform on the world's biggest stage. He answered humbly, "I didn't come here to win a competition. I came to show that even broken hands can build beauty." That's the victory. Back in his hometown, the impact of Mario's AGT journey was undeniable. Families gathered around televisions in living rooms and street corners to watch clips of his performances. His small carpentry shop, once shuttered, reopened with the help of his neighbors and local craftsmen. They painted it freshly, installed a polished wooden sign, and hung a golden star above the doorway, commemorating the courage and hope that had inspired a nation. The mayor of the town visited personally and renamed the street where Mario lived, Hope Lane. Children flocked to his shop every day, eager to learn both carpentry and music. Mario taught them patiently, reminding them, "Your hands can build miracles, even if life tries to break you." He passed on not just skills, but also the lessons of resilience and faith that had carried him through his darkest days. Though the years went by, Mario never stopped performing. He traveled occasionally to share his story and music, but his main focus became helping others. He started a foundation for injured workers in the Philippines, offering rehabilitation, counseling, and access to creative outlets like music and carpentry. Stories poured in from people who had been touched by his journey, workers who had given up after accidents, families facing impossible odds, and children who were inspired to chase dreams despite obstacles. Mario became a symbol of hope, a living testament that strength is not measured by one's ability to stand, but by the ability to rise again after life knocks you down. Years later, as Mario's health began to decline, he remained steadfast in his purpose. At what would be his final public appearance, he returned to the stage that had changed his life so profoundly. Rolling out in a wheelchair crafted from polished wood by his community, he held his guitar gently and sang, "Wooden Soul, one last time." His voice was softer, aged with experience, but it carried every ounce of love, perseverance, and faith he had lived through. The audience rose to their feet, a standing ovation that seemed to go on forever. Mario smiled, looking at the crowd, at Liza standing beside him, at the countless lives he had touched. "You don't have to stand tall to reach hearts," he whispered, "you just have to stand true." When the performance ended, Mario rolled off stage, feeling complete. He held Liza's hand tightly, tears streaming down both their faces. Outside, people who had been following his journey from across the globe posted tributes and shared messages of gratitude. His story became more than just an audition or a viral moment, it became a legacy. A man who once thought his life had ended in tragedy had rebuilt it with courage, music, and love, touching millions along the way. And as the sun set that evening, Mario looked at the horizon and smiled quietly, knowing that every life he had inspired, every heart he had lifted, was a home he had built, a house of hope that would never crumble.